All right. Hello. Welcome to RMR Training Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan, joined by the Ryan Kent. Today, we're going to be talking about the best way to get warmed up for your Hyrox event. Maybe we'll even touch on a little bit of warm up for our workouts so that we can understand how we're going to feel going into the event, not leave anything up to chance. First, Cam, what's going on? You guys getting a big old snowstorm down South Carolina? People are grabbing toilet paper. There's no water. People are just bunkered down. You got 3 inches coming, and that's it.
3, 6, but yeah, you would think the world is ending right now.
I mean, you're just not equipped. What are you supposed to do?
No. The snow, it's coming down actually outside right now, but they closed schools down before the day even started, and it's already like midday. I mean, they could have done a half day of school, but here they're like, nope, don't even bother coming in.
Nobody knows how to drive out there in the snow, and that's not like a diss. It's just like, why would you? Yeah. I would imagine there's a heavy amount of pickups. Are there as many SUVs as in like 4-wheel drive situations as we have out here in Colorado?
There's a bunch of pickups, but it's like not the 4-wheel drive kind of pickups.
The ones that the back will start spinning out.
Oh yeah, hydroplane.
Yeah.
But we got the Traverse, baby. That thing can handle. Yeah,
well, you got that, and even the Mini, right? That thing's
true
4-wheel drive, isn't it?
True. Yeah, all-wheel drive. That thing can handle
right?
in the snow for sure. Needs some new tires on it though.
That's numero uno out here in Colorado. It's gonna snow. They don't even plow our street. They're just like, everybody has an all-terrain vehicle. You'll be fine. Just get to the main road and it'll be melted.
Have you guys even had any snow yet this winter?
We got some this week. We had some early, of course, how we typically would. I think we had some in October or maybe early November, and then it just snowed earlier this week. So there's some on the ground right now, but it's been pretty light, which is not going to be great for fire season, we're thinking.
Yeah. Speaking of fires, man, you seen those ones out there in California?
A little bit. It's been on my radar. Some. It seems crazy. It's like super windy, right?
It is brutal, dude. Very much like apocalyptic looking.
Ugh. So shouts to all people in California. Hope you're being safe, being smart. And yeah, we had a little bit of that last year here in Lyons with Luca and Camilla's spot.
Oh yeah.
That was
went right up to the edge of their property, or onto their property, right to the boundary of their home.
It like surrounded the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Like, and when we were up there for camp, it was crazy seeing it. Like, we had this conversation. Like, I didn't know what it was going to look like, but it didn't look like how I thought it was going to. It was just scorched earth.
Yeah.
Like, it was like a bomb went off. Like, nothing alive, everything black, which I guess does make sense, but it was just pretty eerie and kind of haunting to see something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about some warm-up stuff today. We got MJ. She'll be catching up with us the next couple weeks. She's just in a completely different time zone, so we're having a hard time just like kind of honing it down and making sure. But full squad will be back together at some point, we promise. So we are coming up on the next U.S. race will be in Vegas, and we're going to start to see some more races coming around. We get a little break in the Hyrox season over
3 weeks to the day, actually.
Yeah, for us. You see what time we start?
No, 6:30?
I thought it was 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
I thought that's what I read. That's what I've been that's what's in my head.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It is
dude, I'm in bed by 9 p.m. most nights.
Well, that's gonna be like midnight for you.
I know. I'm usually late. At least got my feet kicked up by 9.
Or maybe I'm wrong.
Someone asked me the other day, and I told him 6:30.
7th. It says here. Is this the right thing? Yeah, Vegas 7:30 for the elite men. Okay, 9 p.m. is this ceremony.
Okay,
that's better. A little bit better.
Like, I get it. We're in Vegas, but geez,
that'd be crazy too. Just like, I mean, I know that they're not doing this for, like, there's only so much that they can control when it comes to the spectator side of it. And they're going to get most of the eyeballs on the live stream and YouTube. So like in person, it's probably not that big of a deal for them. And they're probably constrained by like setup and how long things are going to take and when they can get in and out of the venues. But if like, the people who are going to come watch that race are people who are racing the next day. So if it's like, if
Most of
that
them,
was me,
yeah.
I'd be like, I don't know, man. I'm not going to get into my hotel room until like 9 if I go and watch that race.
Right. Just pull up the live stream in the
Go to the
hotel
live
room.
stream,
Yeah.
hang out. That's probably what I would do too. So we are talking about warm-ups today, 7:30 race. So we have all day to warm up. But a lot of the Hyrox events now are, yes, Vegas is the next one. Manchester is coming up in a couple weeks as well. But there's a bit of a break. But we will have some races kicking back off in the last week of January, first weekend in February. So I want to touch on that. And we have the first race in New Zealand popping off that first weekend in February. There are 4 races in 3 different continents, which will be pretty crazy. So what's the first thing you do so I guess when I'm talking about a warm-up, let's talk about a race day warm-up first, because this is a little bit harder to execute just because the variables there's a lot more variables that are added in and it's way less familiar, right? I do want to talk about the training warm-up as well, because I think this is also very important, but you can control it a little bit better. When you get there on race day, things are probably going to take a little bit longer than you want. It's just crowded whatever check-in is. So
going to the bathroom,
figuring out where the bathrooms are. Like when we were in Dallas versus Chicago's bathroom situation was terrible. Dallas was easy. So we got to kind of like get the lay of the land. So if we are racing, say we're racing at 7 p.m. on a normal day, when do you want to get to the venue?
Get to the venue, I would say no earlier than 90 minutes before. Just to
no earlier.
Okay.
That would be too much time.
Unless you can go find a quiet place and just kind of sit with yourself. I think the last thing you want to do is use any extra emotional or mental energy, before the race starts. You want to save all that for when you race. So, even if it's talking to your friends and whatnot, like try to chill on that, because that stuff can drain you. I tend to be a little standoffish before the races, not because that's the way that I am. It's just like I'm trying to preserve every ounce of energy before the race starts.
For me, it's more just that the energy does kind of come into me. Like I just get a lot more ramped up just being at the venue than I if not. And once I get there, I don't like to have a ton of time between just like sitting and chilling, because it's not very chill, even if I'm just sitting. So I kind of agree with you. I would like it, like if I can ensure that 60 minutes is enough time to be there and just like execute, like I will do that. Like if you have checked everything, if you've been to the venue earlier, which you can do now, right? Like you can go to check earlier and see how it's all kind of laid out. So you can get a lay of the land before the race. I think I like the idea of 60 to 90. I think like 75 to 80 is probably a sweet spot just in case. So you can get a little wiggle room, just because you will be talking to people, you are going to see stuff. And it's just going to be a little bit out of your element. So I think that's fair. 90-minute at most.
Yep.
And then from there, when do you start the warm up?
Start the warm up 45 to 50 minutes before race time. And that's not just to start like physically warming up. That's when you start kind of your mental preparation too. You start getting in the zone, start running through your plan in your head, going over any last minute mental details, to make sure you've got everything dialed.
So it's working back from the time, right? So if we're racing at 7, you're starting to do stuff at 6:15.
Yep, 6:10, 6:15. Throw on the running shoes, and the first thing that I do is about a mile, just like easy, zone 1, zone 2. We're just turning the car on. Use a car analogy. We're idling the body, just turning it on.
It does
not looking to do anything crazy here. We're just kind of warming up the system.
I think this is a mistake. This was definitely something that would happen in OCR a lot too, just because it was kind of wonky and weird. But I think this does happen with Hyrox in training and in races. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes to really get your aerobic system to, like, I've seen the term completely like turn on, which, isn't the truth. Like, your aerobic system does just work, but to really kind of be efficient and to start to warm up like your diaphragm and just to get the blood moving throughout. If you've done any type of endurance training at all, when you first start, often is like when it feels the worst, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
really, it's about getting that piece taken care of, and not just like physically, but just aerobically. Like, a lot of times I'll be like, ugh, I'm like kind of dragging. I feel like a little heavy. My breathing isn't exactly where I want it to be. But once you get that chunk of, so you're doing what, like a mile for you, so like 8:45. So you're doing about 8 minutes and 45 seconds of
Could
aerobic
be.
work.
It could be that
But
the pace is kind of irrelevant for that first little part
For
of the
sure.
warm up.
For
Doesn't
sure.
even matter.
So say like 7 to 10 minutes, easy aerobic.
Sure. Now this is very easy to do in training, but when you're at the venue, finding a place to do this can be somewhat, logistically challenged. And sometimes they do have the treadmills. Sometimes they have the big hallways where you can get out there, even maybe get access to outside and then come back in. Your boy breaks the rules. I get out on the course, start running loops around the course.
Yeah, we've gotten
like-
yelled at for that for sure.
But you need to find a place. And if that's on the treadmill there in the warm-up area, or if that's in the hallways around the convention center, or if there's an exit where you can, step outside, go run a mile, and then come back in. But you got to find something.
And that's important to note, right? That even the warm-up areas are inconsistent. So if you're headed there and it's like, your first or maybe it's your second Hyrox, from one week to the next in Chicago, they had that kind of gated way to get in. So to get out, it was a process. And once you got out, there was areas you could run outside. And if you were going to do this, you might not even want to come into the venue to start at all. You might just want to start your warm-up in an area where you could run outside. Or if Cheryl Snow, she actually will warm up at the hotel. She'll like do that run part at her hotel that's like close by.
That's smart.
Just so she doesn't have to be around it. Exactly. So she like knows that that's predictable and that's how she's going to feel the best. But using Chicago versus Dallas, like Chicago's hard to get in and out of. Dallas, it was easy. They had an entrance just to the athlete area. So you can get out and you could run on the hallways, and it was long enough and you could do like a warm up in that.
And it was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice. And in the warm up area in Dallas, they had treadmills. In Chicago, they didn't. So once you were in there, you almost like couldn't run. So if running is an important part of your warm up.
Yeah, that's another thing we should talk on. Like, do you even need to run? Is it absolutely necessary?
And this is something that I've actually I've changed quite a bit in my own training and in my race day routine. Is the running is way less. So if I'm warming up for 9 to 15 minutes or whatever, I'm like running 3 to 5 minutes total and kind of like alternating back and forth between, where I used to just be like, I need to sit and run for 10 to 15 minutes just because that's like the runner in me. I'm like, I need to run. And I would run much less. So I don't think you need to run a ton. I think just aerobically, as long as you're like getting turned on a little bit and like really like ramping things up. They will have the C2 bikes. They will have the ski and the row, almost for sure.
Yeah. Let's touch on that at the end. A little warm up without running.
Okay. So if running is an important part of your warm up, making sure that you understand that like what it's going to look like. And if you want to run, either just finding a place like you're saying and just getting there in due time is important. But yeah, I think like 7 to 10 minutes of a run is plenty. So what do you do after that? So now we're looking at so that was at 6:15, right?
Yep.
You said 45 minutes.
Yep.
So now say it's like 6:25. Say it's 10 minutes. So now 6:25 for a 7 p.m. start. What are you doing now?
So actually, the moment I get done with my 1 mile zone 1, zone 2 easy jog, I take about a 1 to 2 minute rest. And then I go 3 minutes at like marathon pace. So like a steady, And this is kind of where my warm up has evolved over time. Like normally I would do that easy zone 2 part, and then I would go through some stretching and some mobility, but I actually save that kind of towards the end now.
Hmm.
I don't interrupt the warm up really. I try not to. So after that first initial 8 to 10 minute zone 1, zone 2, I'll rest for, let's just say 90 seconds. And then I hit 3 minutes at like a zone 3 effort, just like a steady run. Now this is really going to get the heart rate pumping, probably going to break a sweat. This is kind of the first part of the warm up where we're looking to really kind of rev the engine up a little bit.
I think this is an important part, is to ramp things up some, just so you are feeling that effort. One thing that I've done in the past, and I would recommend you don't do, is be like, oh, I feel this way or that way during this 10-minute warm up with 7 minutes easy, 3 minutes hard, because like it doesn't really matter. You're just physically getting ready. And I would always try to put like, oh, am I feeling good here? Or am I feeling bad? And then I'm already kind of putting how I'm feeling into like my results, which doesn't matter.
Yeah, we should get that out of the way, that no matter how you feel on the warm up, whether it's good, whether it's bad, it has no indication of how the race is going to go. Because I've had plenty of workouts where the warm up was terrible, and I'm like, oh my God, like this workout's going to suck. And then I freaking had one of my best workouts ever. And then I've also had the other where warm up's going great, man. I'm like, dude, today's going to be a good one. And then the workout doesn't go that well. So you can't put too much stock into how you feel on the warm up. Don't let it kind of sway you in either direction, I guess is my advice.
It's just the warm up, right? Yeah, like you're gonna get out there, and your fitness is no different than it was leading into it because of this warm up, right? And if you start to put pressure on yourself on how it feels even before the race starts, it's just more stress. It's more things you don't need to worry about. Like you need to have this warm up happen in isolation, and then have it not bleed into whatever, like however you're feeling mentally for the race. Cause this is really just the mental part, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess let's move through the tactical. Let's keep moving through the tactical part. Okay. So you got about 10-ish minutes. You got a little bit of up tempo. So you have about 30 more minutes.
Right. I'm about 15 minutes into the warm up at this point. And then after that 800 meter run, roughly 3 minutes at like zone 3, I'll rest again for another 90 seconds. And then I hit a 500 meter ski at the pace that I'm going to aim to hit in the race. So 2K plus 5 to 7 seconds for 500 meters. That's the next segment of my warm up.
So say like getting there. And I like a hard ski as well for the warm up, because this is one of the first parts of the race.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So like it's I will move a little bit into the positions that I need to for the back half of the race, just to warm up in general. And I'll do that before my run workouts anyway. I'll like kind of move in a deep squat, do some like slow lunges, just to make sure I'm warm in like my joints and my tendons. But that's not going to happen. Like you're going to be like warm by the time you get to the lunges and wall balls in this race.
Right.
So like if there's something that you really need to put into place for your warm up, I think the ski is the move. And same kind of thing, like warming up your arms, your lats, you know, creating that connection to your body just to feel it out, I think is important. And like, so you like to go pretty hard, but it's not going to feel super hard after you're warmed up for 10 minutes and you're fired up. You're
exactly
like yanking on that thing, just crushing it.
Mm-hmm. You almost have to like tame yourself.
And it's the same thing too. Like it doesn't matter however that ski goes, because it's going to go well probably. You're like, no, I'm nice today. And so don't go out there and then be like, because I crushed that ski in the warm up, I'm going to go crush it in this race.
And it's kind of the same thought process with the running, right? Like when you want to run a little bit harder before you do a big run workout or a race, you want to build up a little bit of lactate. That way, when the race starts, your body's kind of familiar with the feeling, and it's the same process with the ski. Like when you finish that 500 meter ski in the warm up, you're probably going to feel like a little bit of a pump in your arms and whatnot, in your core. But that's why you do it in the warm up. Get that feeling out of the way, That way, when you get into the race, your body's already learned how to kind of buffer that lactate upper body.
It's already making that process, right?
Yeah.
I agree with that. So now we're at like 6:35 because whatever, you're doing it for 2-ish minutes, but you got to get on one. You got to like move around. It's not going to be like linear.
So after I do that 500-meter ski, now this is where I go into a little bit of mobility work, stretching, mobility. I'll take 5 to 10 minutes and I'll go through a few dynamic stretches, a few static stretches, and then this is where I'll touch on a few of the additional station reps that I feel like I need to touch on before the race starts. So I might go, do a little bit of mobility, and then I'll go push the sled for 10 meters or something. Maybe pull the sled for 10 meters, do 3 to 5 burpee broad jumps, not like a ton, just get a few reps in. Maybe carry the farmer carry for 10 to 15 meters. I don't know, just like touch on everything just slightly, and this process will take about 10 minutes.
So that will take us about to 6:45.
Yep.
And so this is one of the last pieces that you put in after you've warmed up aerobically, then you start to put in the physical parts toward the back, the movement pieces. Are you doing anything after this?
Yeah.
And okay, what do you got?
Some strides, like almost like a little fartlek thing where I'll run much faster than race pace for 10 to 15 seconds and then walk or slow jog for 30 seconds and then just like repeat that for, I don't know, like 4 rounds. And then
what's the idea?
Just to get some quicker turnover before the race starts. Feel something a little bit faster. Then that way when the gun goes off, like it's not a pace that you're unfamiliar with. So just kind of touching on it for 10 to 15 seconds a couple times before the race starts, I've just found really helpful.
It's a big time runner thing. If you go to a road race, 10, 5, 15 minutes before a race, you're just going to see everybody just doing like.
Is this necessary? Strides. I don't think so, but it's part of my routine. That's what I do.
It's a bit mental. It's a little physical. And that's a question that I wanted to ask. Is your race kit on this entire time?
So during the stretching mobility piece, that's kind of also when I put on my race shoes.
Okay. So you're just doing most of this in your trainers.
Yeah.
So you put on the race shoes and then do strides so you can.
Yep.
That again, runner thing.
Yep.
Runner thing, baby. But yeah, that I do the same. I do the same. Like I got these on. Let me see how these feel. I'm gonna go fast. So
and at this point, the warm up is complete. So like we're not really looking for really much of a heart rate response with this last piece. Just a quick little turnover action.
And then
because there is like studies that say like you want your and you might be able to speak to this a little bit better than me, but you almost want to come back to like a homeostasis before the race starts. Like you want to completely come down from your warm up before the race starts versus like, finishing your last hard piece of the warm up and then you're racing within 5 minutes. That's actually, I guess there's studies that say that that's not beneficial. You want to try to come back to like that perfect level.
So you want to be, what's like the most amount of time that you'd want to give yourself to be done? Like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 10?
15 to 20.
15 to 20.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Because then those little pieces when you're pushing the sled for 10 meters, that's enough to you're keeping your system turned on when you're doing those things. So you're kind of just like winding down more or less before getting ready to ramp things back up fully.
And then when do you go into the starting gate? Like the
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah.
2 minutes is seemingly cutting it close, but longer than that just feels like forever. It just like, I think you're allowed to go in. I think they give us 5. They'll open the gate and allow people to come in, and being in there for 5 minutes is just like, it feels like 30. It feels like forever.
Yeah, you're standing there, you tighten up a little bit, stay out, do some butt kicks, some high knees, stay loose, stay
Mhm.
limber.
Yeah, so I like this. I think that makes sense. Yeah, 2 minutes. I might go like I'm usually in there before you, maybe like 2.5, 3, just so I can just. Then I'm there.
Say hi to everybody.
Then I'm just like, all right, I'm in this. We're gonna start the race. We're not missing this race. That's a reoccurring nightmare I'll have sometimes. Like I forgot my shoes or something, and I'm like scrambling before the start line, and I'm like not gonna make it. I've had that nightmare many times. So I get in there. Maybe not 5, 2.5, 3.
Yeah.
It's good for me. So I will. Ours are flipped a little bit. Say we have a 7 and we're starting at 6:15, 45 minutes out. I will usually do a little bit of movement prep before 45 to 50 minutes out, and that will take, like whatever, 10 minutes or so of kind of moving in the positions that I want to move in before I do start the aerobic part, where you kind of stick that toward the end. I will start with that. So I will start with about 10 or 15 minutes of just like general mobility, not stretching, not really dynamic stuff, but just kind of like moving into the positions that I know make me feel good and ready. So very low intensity, but just something that's very familiar and something that I do pretty much before every quality session and before most sessions in general. So this is just like taking part of my routine from home and just putting it to place for the actual event. So that's like the first thing that I'll kick off with.
I don't hate it.
Then I will move into the aerobic part. So around, actually, okay, where are we? So if it's 6:15, so I think like 6:25 or so. And I actually, because I have done, I don't like to have a lot of time after I'm done aerobic work. If I can be done with that aerobic work about 15 minutes before the start time, I'm happy. So say it's going to take 15 minutes or so of aerobic work and warm up. If I'm starting between 6:25 and 6:30, and then I'm done at 6:45, like I'm happy with that. Then I'm just because then I'm just like continuously like ramped up. Then like things just like progressively build in terms of like urgency, where it's like low key, it's like pretty low, pretty low. And then I'm done. And I'm like, okay, now I need to like get my shoes on, get everything situated, take whatever nutrition I'm going to take, and then like I'm in the gate. Right. Like, so I don't like to have a lot of lag time between the aerobic work and the start. I think just in terms of like mentally ramping. Like if I'm going up, I want to go up and I want to like kind of stay up, as opposed to like going up and then coming back down and then trying to build it back. So I like to kind of have a little bit of a build there. So I'll do the aerobic thing. Like I said, I've been running less, so usually I'll just do 3 to 5 rounds of 1 minute run, 1 minute ski, 1 minute bike or row or something like that. I'll just kind of do a 3-minute circuit, and maybe progressing the intensity as it goes. But usually I don't need to do that on race day because I'm just like fired up. So I'm like pulling hard right away, and I'm just like I'm going crazy right now. Yeah, and then I think at about 15 minutes is where I start to put my shoes on. Is where I'll make sure my race kit's ready. Anything I'm taking on the course. Like I put gloves in my pockets, make sure in the right pockets. If I have nutrition, I'll put that in on my person, just so I know when I'm out there, like that's all taken care of. And then then I'm just kind of like moving around with nervous energy. Maybe I'll push the sled. Maybe I don't. Maybe I pull the sled. Same kind
It's
of
not
thing.
necessary.
Whatever I feel like I need to do.
Yeah.
And just doing like a call. It's more just to see how I'm feeling, and just to kind of like turn things on. It's like, okay, like, yes, I know how to do this. Yes, I know how to do this. That's more of the mental side of the things that probably, like you said, not necessary, but I will do it sometimes and no real structure.
Right.
And then just
that's the only piece that's kind of a little bit that can vary from race to race.
I don't think it matters. I know Meg's not a big fan of touching on the sleds beforehand, but I don't mind it. I think I usually will, just so I can keep myself mentally in check. Like, okay, I know how to push this. Yeah. I know how to do this. And they've been changing the surface of the warm-up area, so it's not always 1-to-1. So sometimes it's like harder in the warm-up area now, which is a little bit unsettling. But if it's like the regular carpet, I just try to load it up and be like, all right, we're good to go. We're good to go.
I think the
And then I'm
biggest
in
thing
there.
though, the biggest thing is just whatever you need to establish a routine. That's like the most important thing. And you need to repeat the same thing. Like, do you ever really change? I guess my warm up changes slightly when I'm doing, whether the workout calls for just running or if it calls for a mixture of a few different things. The warm up changes just slightly, but um, you need to have a routine that you repeat almost for every intensity session in training, and do that same thing when you get to the venue. It shouldn't be this drastically different experience once you get to the race. It should be almost feel like you're at your house or you're at your gym doing your warm up like you typically would. Um, I think a lot of people tend to get to the race and they get distracted or whatever the case may be, and they don't go through the processes that they go through in training, and then that can leave them feeling a little bit underprepared for when the race starts.
Or just like unsure, right? Like if you're not doing the same things that you're doing, like
Right.
you're just like, I don't know, I think this is
Right.
fine. And like I said, just to establish these routines, just to reduce the amount of thinking that you have to do on the event, the day of the event. Like if you know that this is going to make you feel good, then you don't have to worry about it, and it can just like be part of the routine. Less you have to think about, and that's less stress. Like thinking about how you're going to do things will add stress, will take energy, not a lot, but if we're talking about optimal performance, we want to make sure we are addressing all of these factors so that when we do step on the line, we are prepared to perform to the best of our ability, and being stressed out for the warm up because things are different, or you're not sure what you're doing, or or you're doing something that's out of the routine. That's going to cause a little bit of stress.
Mm-hmm.
So like being routine and having it be something that's familiar is important for your performance.
When you get onto the line, when you're under the archway and you're standing there for that 2 minutes, what's going through your mind? What are you thinking at that point? Are you getting distracted by all the people that are around? Are you in your own head about the job you need to do? Kind of what's going through your mind there?
I can like summon intensity and hold intensity for like 60 to 90 seconds. So I'm trying to be in a bubble that I feel is going to allow me to perform well. And I kind of do need to ramp up my mental intensity without to the point of being like, oh, don't talk to me. Like, stay away from me. I will be cordial. I'll talk to people. I'll say hello, but I'm not super loose. I need at least like 60 seconds to like hone in
Mm-hmm.
and not thinking about anything that I need to do tactically, right? Like I'm not going over my race plan. I'm not thinking about the first run. I'm not thinking about the wall balls because I've done that already. That's that's what we've done in training. I know what the plan's going to be. I'm more, and I do this in my warm up before hard quality sessions as well. I just need to like brace myself for what's coming, right? Like it's like we're about to embark on something that is really hard,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to be ready to understand mentally and physically that something's coming, right? So I need to like really hone in and take all of the energy that's around, or in either block it out or pull it in, whatever I'm doing with that energy. It just needs to be to brace myself to understand that what's about to happen is about to be gnarly.
Yeah.
So that's that's generally where I am. I'm like keeping everything like fairly intense for that purpose because it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think this will vary on, person to person. I think for some people, it's probably very important to make sure you stay within yourself on that first run. So understanding like, hey, like everyone's going to go out really fast right now. I've got friends watching me. My adrenaline's super high. Like I need to calm myself down and make
Mhm.
sure that I stay within myself on that first run. So I think there's people in that camp that need to remind themselves that, hey, like when they send us off, I need to chill. I need to
Mhm.
just settle. But I think on our level, it's more of, like the work is done. We trust that we know how to do this race. And now we just need to brace ourselves for the next 50 to 60 minutes. And it's like, okay, like sometimes I'll even think back to workouts in that remaining seconds before the race starts, just to give me
Mhm.
that extra little bit of confidence, that I am ready for this. You know, like remember that simulation I did a week and a half ago, whatever it is, just to give you that last little bit of confidence before they send you off.
We're actually having a conversation with a small group, and we were talking about kind of preparing for workouts, not necessarily races, but just like how we kind of get ourselves ready for a hard workout. And the group was actually kind of split on how we use external inputs, I guess I could say. Like music was the thing we use, music and headphones. Like I don't use music during or headphones at all during quality sessions, even like during the warm up. If I'm feeling good, right? If I'm feeling like ready for it, sometimes if I need to just like have an escape, even if I'm like too tired or I'm too stressed and I just want to like get to the hard part of the workout, I'll pop on something like a podcast or music or something that will just kind of like make me feel good, I guess, for lack of better terms. But if I'm locked in and like things are good and I'm like excited about the workout, like I don't need that at all. It could be completely silent. It could be completely silent, and that's fine. But
if the workout goes poorly, I'm usually pretty silent. I won't listen to anything on the cool down either. But if the workout goes great, I just I'll throw on music or a podcast.
Oh, I'll do that too.
It's almost like celebrate that I
deserve this, man. I'm gonna goof off right now.
Yeah.
But that's the group was a little split, right? There was some people that were like, if I don't have some sort of external input, I will get too stressed. It will be negative. It will negatively affect my performance because I will start to overthink it. I won't be able, and like that leads to less good a performance. So I'll either put on a podcast or put on some music that makes me happy so that when I'm able to get in there, I don't have all of this stress that's been building throughout the entire warm up. So it's very personalized, and it's something you have to know about yourself as an athlete. And there's no right or wrong answer, right? I think people will want to be like, "Oh, stay focused, keep your shit, keep your intensity."
Yeah,
that's not how it is for everyone.
I feel like I'm 50-50 on it. It's some weeks I'll listen to music before the workout, others I won't. I think it depends on what the workout is. If it is, if it's gonna be maybe like a tempo type session, I'm okay with listening to music because I'm like, this is gonna be something the pace from the get-go is not gonna be so crazy that I can't just like warm up in the workout. Whereas like if it's gonna be intervals where I need to be zone 4 or higher, yeah, it's usually I'm just in my thoughts and prepping myself mentally before that workout.
For me, it's like if I'm just not looking forward to it, and generally it's if I'm too tired, if I'm not rested appropriately, like I'll be like, I just need something to help me get through this.
Yeah,
like that's me personally, and that's
but
how
like
I know.
You never listen to anything during the actual workout itself, though, right?
Generally not. I guess it depends on
unless you're at like a big gym and they're playing music over the speaker.
Yeah,
or something like that.
I have in the past for sure, but I have not been lately.
I've never done that. I don't think ever.
Like for any quality, like even at your inside your gym, you just said for a tempo run, you do it.
For a warm up, I'll throw something on.
Warm up on a tempo run.
But when the workout starts, now a speaker's different, but I'm talking like headphones in the ears. Like when I'm doing it.
I guess it depends. Sometimes if it is a long grind, steady state thing, I will put on something that I know I can depend on being steady. Like the best bet for me is like having like an EDM podcast set. It's like kind of a DJ set because the tempo is the exact same for 60 minutes. And then it's just more just like trancey, just more there. But I've done that in the past, but not often. Never on
I think there's, I think most people out there need to get, in tune with their bodies a little bit more and listening to the signs. And sometimes like the music and the podcast can be distractions for that. So I think if you're someone who's still learning themselves, learning their body, and, because if you tell me to go run a pace or put out an effort, I can do it without looking at a watch or looking at a heart rate monitor. And that has taken me years to get to that point. But if you don't have that experience, sometimes it's good to just focus on your breathing and listen to the signs that your body's telling you and try to be more in tune with your body. And the music sometimes can be a distraction.
It's a crutch. It can be a crutch for sure. right? Like, I think that it can be positive for people, like, say, I never understood people, like, they do marathons and half marathons with their music. But, like, if a song comes on, like, oh, this song is my jam, this always gives me good energy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But also it's like, do you need, like, you have that energy in you. You don't need that song to pop on to give you that. So it's a crutch. It can be for sure. I actually like to recommend people not wear it for like easy runs outside, just like easy
Mhm.
zone 2 stuff, because so that it doesn't become like I need to have this thing in order to do this run, because you definitely don't.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a tangent, bit of a sick. But along those lines, is there anything, because music can have music or podcast or whatever that this external input is, like, it can create a response. Do you have anything like that? Is there anything that you'll do before, or things you'll say to yourself, or things you'll listen to, or mantras you'll go to that will put you in a mental space that makes you feel more prepared to perform?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. I think I'm just so used to going there that when it's time to do it, I can just summon it. Like, I don't
Hmm.
need to really have a mantra or pep talk myself. It's just like, okay, we're doing this now.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm kind of the
I
same.
don't think that I have anything.
I'm kind of the same. Like, I have a playlist on my phone that does have probably 20 songs that I know if I hear them,
Same.
I will be able to, like, get excited. But I have not listened to it before a race in a long time now.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. So
Yeah.
you need to have it. You need to have that available, if you need it for sure.
What about the nutrition piece in this window of, let's just stick with this window of the 45 to 50 minutes. Um, are you taking in any nutrition? And let's put electrolytes in here, caffeine in here. Let's any type of carbohydrate or whatever. Is there anything that you have in your routine in this warm up window for nutrition?
In the routine, I mean, I do, but that would be the piece that kinda changes
Mhm.
from workout to workout and race to race. It kinda just depends on how I'm feeling and what I need. So I have things available. I have, gels in my bag. I have, um, like, gummy bears, for example, in my bag, and, if I need that little bit of sugar
You got them in
before
your
the race
pockets
starts, got them
24/7.
in my pockets.
They go
And
through the wash.
I have it
Sarah gets mad.
available, so, if I feel like I need it, I just go over and take it, but I don't really have a specific time of when I take it. Um, I'll keep a banana around. I might take a little bite of a banana and not eat the whole thing. Um, I would say try to do this, and again, I'm no expert here, but I would say no earlier than 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, maybe. If you wanna
For
take
what,
a
for
bite
like
of a
the
banana
glycogen
or a
top off?
gel or something,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Say you would do
um,
it within 10 minutes of the race. You'd
for
wanna,
sure.
like, pop in some gummy bears. In this window, I think it really doesn't matter too much. Definitely after the aerobic piece, I think, if you do wanna just, like, top off some glycogen, whatever. Like, you can even take a gel or a goo or something in this moment, like you're saying, how that would function as gummy bears, right?
Eh
And have it be sugars.
Yes, and I'm not drinking just water at all during this
Okay.
time. The beverage that I'm drinking has electrolytes in it because you are going to be sweating a lot inside these venues, and you are gonna be losing a lot of electrolytes, mainly sodium. So, you need to have a little bit of a sodium surplus, going into the race. So, if you I tend to have 2 water bottles, really. I'll have one that's kinda just water and then one that has electrolytes, and majority of the time, I am sipping on the electrolytes, but, on occasion, I might, for every 10 swigs of electrolytes, I might have 1 swig of water.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I kinda have the same. I will have an electrolyte only bottle, and I have had a bottle that has a carbohydrate solution as well. So instead of having gummy bears or gel or something like that, I will sip on some sort of carbohydrate beverage. Again, yeah, like you, not really with like, okay, I need to take 20 grams of carbohydrates 15
Right.
minutes before or whatever. I will consistently kind of sip on it if I feel like I need it. And more just of like insurance. It doesn't really matter. But yes, electrolytes, and especially at these evening races, for those of you who are going to be racing in later in the afternoon or in the evening for the first time, we'd recommend having basically electrolytes all day. Like you're going to be going to the bathroom all day. You're going to be breathing all day. You're just going to be losing fluid that you might not be used to losing if you work out in the mid morning or even like after work, right? Like it's just still several hours later than when you typically would be working out. So making sure you are replenishing those fluids and the electrolytes that you would typically have, we recommend. So we're drinking electrolytes basically all day.
Definitely.
You've been
there was one thing I wanted to touch on real quick with the warm up.
Okay.
You got to be careful not to do too much, because everyone is coming at this with different fitness coming in. And, myself, Rich, we can handle those 45-minute warm-ups. We can run 2 miles plus and do a bunch of other stuff and go into the race still feeling fresh. So if you're not used to doing a ton of volume in your training, I think you've got to you're almost better off dialing back your warm-up, I think, versus trying to do too much. Would you agree with that?
I'm not sure.
Because the last thing you'd want to do is, run too much in your warm-up or work too hard in your warm-up to where you can't put out when the race starts. So I think you just be a little bit cautious.
My general take on this, because I think this is something that people will think the same. Like, I don't want to spend my race and my warm-up. Like, if your race is spent because of your warm-up, like,
you're not ready.
Fitness is not very good. That's the main thing, I think. So I think people will conserve a little bit too much. So yeah, I think this 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, if you are just like nervous and like you were trying to do stuff all day, like, yeah, you can definitely screw up your race like by doing too much, just because like, I don't know, you're probably trying to prove to yourself that you need to do a little bit more. Like, and that's kind of the same thing. Like, you're not ready, or you don't believe that you're ready.
Right.
So you're still trying to prove something to yourself, even as the race is here. Right. So I would rather see people, I think, underwarming
do too
up
much than too less. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if people would do too much, but like people definitely do too little more often, I think, than do too much. I think you could overdo it with like sleds or lunges or like squats and stuff.
Yeah.
I would not do too much of that. But if you're doing like, I guess like, what's the most you think you could run and perform well?
Maybe 3 miles.
I was thinking 3. Yeah. Like if it's like 20 minutes, if I'm running like 25 minutes, I'm probably gonna be like, the fatigue's starting to kind of sit in a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but like 7 to 10, we're good to go.
All right.
What about caffeine?
Yeah, that's just this is something that's kind of evolved too over the years. Like I used to keep 5-hour energies in my bag, and I would chug those or chug one as I'm walking to the start line. Just like last
Right
minute
away.
little energy boost.
Last second. Okay.
Last second. But I've been more towards just kind of gradually doing the caffeine thing, like I'll sip on. Really, my last little bit of caffeine is probably before the warm up even starts, if I'm being honest. Usually that's, I don't know, man. When I think back to like Chicago in 2023, I was just sipping on a cold brew for 30 minutes before my warm up.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was good. That worked for me. But if you need a caffeine pill or you need a 5-hour energy or something like that, I think it depends like when you want that to kick in, I guess. Do you want it to kick in? Do you want to be at the start line and have it kick in, or do you want it to kick in at the burpee broad jumps? Do you want a mid-race boost? But sometimes that I've had experience with caffeine pills in a negative way, to where it kind of throws my heart rate out of whack when I feel it starting to kick in the middle of a workout or the middle of a race. It kind of throws me off. It's almost like, whoa, what's happening to my body right now? It can be a little overwhelming. So for me, I found that getting all my caffeine in before the warm up even starts is kind of the move. That's just the direction that I go.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. Like, if I want to have the boost from caffeine, like the mental boost that it kind of brings in terms of just like everything feeling a little bit easier, I like to have it for the warm up for that purpose, right? So things are kind of ramped up and then kind of just like kind of eat, like kind of mellow out by the time I'm at the line. And I've gone back and forth as well. These evening races, it's appropriate because it's been all day. It's like we'll have coffee or whatever in the morning and then basically just chill all day. And then it's 6 p.m. It's like, okay, we're probably gonna be all right to have this. And I'm not too worried about my sleep that night because it's not gonna be great anyway. So, and we'll be exhausted because we just did a crazy effort. So I would take it. I would typically take it. Like if I'm gonna start warming up at 6:15, I will probably start taking it at like 6.
Yeah.
Like an hour before the race or so. And I would, for me, I would probably gonna stick to 100, 150 milligrams. 300 is just like kind of nuts. 200 is a typical dose. That would be fine. And how I would take it, it depends. Some pre-workout that doesn't have a ton of extra this and that in there, I like, or caffeine pills work fine. You could take a caffeinated gel like that. That's also a move that could work, just to kind of stack the carbohydrates and caffeine, some electrolytes as well.
How do you feel about energy drinks? Like if someone was drinking like a Monster or a Red Bull?
I think that's fine. I think it's the same as pre-workout.
Yeah.
Just like weirder. It's like a weirder taste. You're down with Red Bull, right? You're a big Red Bull guy?
I'm down with Red Bull. I wouldn't do it. I would not drink a Red Bull probably 30 minutes before the race starts.
Why not?
I'd be sipping on it before. I think the carbonation would
be like burping.
Mess with my You
don't want to be burping out on the course. No, we don't need that. I have played around with caffeine in the past where I have taken it out of my routine leading into the race, so that when I take it, you get a little boost, because you do create a tolerance to caffeine. Anybody who's on caffeine on the reg understands that the more you have, the more you need. So
that would almost like freak me out if I winged myself off of caffeine and then introduced it on race day again. I would be on another planet.
So like I've done this twice now. One time I had great results. Another time I think it was just mixed, whatever. But I realized I was so excited for the race that I did not need the caffeine, that it was not really giving me a bump in like energy excitement, like how we would typically like before a workout or whatever. Like I do experience that before a workout. If I'm taking like a little bit of a pre-workout, like 150 milligrams of caffeine, like I'm like, okay, like something is different now. But before a race, I really was so excited that it felt like I already had taken a lot of caffeine. So like, I don't think I was experienced. Like, I think I was getting the experience of caffeine anyway. So I don't think that is a necessary piece to put in place. That's a better strategy for like ultra running or marathon running or something that you can like be out there and you just need to kind of like be with your thoughts for a while and worry about like the physical pain that you're in. A little caffeine boost can take you out of that, but this is just like too intense. I don't really think caffeine does a great job of like, making the RPE feel lower in Hyrox.
Yeah, agreed.
It's just like too intense. So take caffeine if you want. I usually, because I'm like, nice, I can have caffeine in nighttime. That's cool. But I don't think it's that necessary. What else? What about like gear? Any other gear you like to have to like account for? Like we talked about your shoes. Like your is there like
a hydration belt or something
like that, or like if like you take your shirt off before, during, like what is like when you're
the shirt always comes off.
You're just like as soon as you walk into the venue.
Yeah. Before I start that last piece where I'm like doing my last little touches on the stations, push the sled a little bit, do a few burpee broad jumps. My shirt's usually off before then.
Yeah, that's ready. I'm shirt on. Shirt on until
I don't hate that.
until
Yeah.
after sled push. That's the new move for me.
Maybe in Vegas, I'll keep it on, and then like halfway through the sled push, I'll just rip it off,
Just
throw
rip
it to a
like,
fan, be like, "Hey,
it's trash.
Find me after the race. I want my shirt back. I love the shirt."
I lost my shirt at Worlds because I took it off and threw it, and like I was asking people for it. It's like it has my name on it. It's around here somewhere. They're like, "Nah, we can't find it." I was like, "I threw it at the like just like directly in the trash." So I don't have that shirt. But
and
I
those
like to keep it
RMR
on.
shirts are freaking sweet.
There's
The
really
texture
sweet.
of those things, man.
Yeah, Varlo. Varlo is the gear. Super light. Yeah, I could probably race in that the whole time and not really be weighed down at all. But I like to have it on just for sweat management. For sled push, I don't think it really does much, but like I don't want the sweat running down my arms if I can avoid it.
I think we covered it, man.
I think we covered it.
The important thing is like find your routine and just stick to it. Do it over and over again in training, and then when you show up to race day, you do the same thing. Don't change it.
I think that's important, and but also know that it won't be.
Right.
There's more factors. Yeah. It's not going to be ideal, and you can roll with it, right? As long as you are doing like something similar, you know how to get yourself prepared. So yeah, warming up in training is as important, just so you know how to warm up for the actual race. So yeah, I agree. Just keep that routine. Give yourself time. Don't freak out if it's not perfect. The warm up doesn't matter. Like you're not going to learn about your race results because of the warm up. Not going to happen. And yeah, just stick to it and I actually write this down. I've been making a checklist of like the full day with timestamps and being like, okay, it's this time. Now I need to eat. This time. Now I need to warm up. This time. Now I should be doing this. Just for that reason, just because things get so scrambled that if I can just like refer back to this list, I'm like, all right, I'm on track or I need to adjust things or whatever.
I like it.
Word. All right, that'll wrap us up. Make sure we're checking out the RMR Training app, RMR Daily, programmed by Mr. Ryan Kent.
Yeah, we got videos. We got videos coming out now every week for RMR Daily.
Yep, RMR Daily is going to be explained by our guy, so we can kind of work us through the progression of what we're working on. Some cool stuff. A lot of when the strength. I like the like EMOM style for the strength. What would you say this block is focused on that we're kicking off right now?
I mean, really just things that are just going to get you ready for the intensity and the
generalized Hyrox.
Yeah. It's I took over RMR Daily. How long has it been now?
Maybe 2-3 months.
2-3 months. And yeah, just kind of I would say I haven't really there hasn't been like a volume reduction or there hasn't been like a volume bump. It's just been kind of steady this entire time. And I don't know. Do you think that that's something I should, think about going forward? Like having more of a periodization process to RMR Daily, or just have it, anyone can kind of pop in at any time and join in on these workouts, and it's going to get them ready for Hyrox.
So that's what is really nice about Daily is that it's not pointed toward any specific event. So if you're working on like base building or you just want to have some inspiration for your regular routine and just want to pull things from it, or if you just want to train for something, you don't want to take it, you just want to be like, you just want to know you'll be prepared, but you don't want to like change your life because of like Hyrox training.
If you came in and you took even just the intensity workouts every week and plugged that into what you were already doing, that's going to be awesome for you.
That'll be enough. Yeah. So maybe a switch in stimulus every now and then, but I think you're just kind of rotating things around. So you're going to get a good, well-rounded level of fitness, good amount of running in here, lots of compromise work specific for Hyrox and some good strength building. So you're going to get just well-rounded fitness. So it's really good for
that's what we're going for.
The hybrid athlete, honestly, is for that.
Exactly.
So check that out. Anything else?
No,
that's it. That's it. And that's all. Cool. All right, squad. Thanks for joining us today. Talk to you soon.
Later.